Hi, my name is Chris and this is Battle Nonsense. You have probably already heard that in the Battlefield 4 CTE there's currently a weapon rebalancing going on, or has been going on for quite a while now. What happened is that the damage the weapons are dealing has been reduced, so now you need an additional round to drop another player. And this means that the time to kill, or TTK, has been increased. A few people are quite upset because of this change and they are now venting their anger in the forums. What they are posting is that because of the increased time to kill the game becomes much more noob friendly and that they would now need an entire magazine just to drop one player. During the last few days quite a few people have asked me for my opinion on that increased time to kill. Well, first of all, increasing the bullets to kill or round to kill does not make the game more noob friendly. In fact, it does quite the opposite. Think about it. If you only need to hit another player a few times, then you can do that very easily on close to mid-range, even if your aim is not that great. Who fires first wins. But when you need more rounds to drop another player, then this means that when you're running into a room and start firing, the other players have a chance to defend themselves. This means that if your aim is very bad and you're not able to hit them repeatedly, then the other players who have a better aim than you can still drop you by a few headshots. This means that the player with the better aim, the higher skill, wins. Another thing to consider is ammo, because if you have very bad aim and the game requires you to hit another player many times in order to drop him, then you will soon run out of ammo, because you are wasting so much. This means that you might be able to drop that one player, but if there is another player behind that one, then you have a problem, because you don't have enough rounds left in your gun in order to drop that player too. This means that if in a game you are required to use more rounds to drop another player, then you need to get better aim. So the game requires more skill from you. Because of that you also have to pay much more attention to your surroundings, because you want to avoid to run into multiple enemies. And to be able to take on larger groups of enemies, you will also want to pay much more attention to the map design. Because you want to know every single bit of cover that you can use, but also tactical advantages the map offers you. And another good idea would be to stick with your squad members. Because alone your chances to survive are not that great anymore when you need more rounds to kill another player. But when you are in a team of 5, your chances of survival are much higher. And the chance to win the round is much higher. So that a game where the time to kill is higher and where you are required to use more rounds to drop another player becomes more noob friendly is just not true in my opinion. But enough with opinions, let's have a look at hard facts. As I've said before, there are a few people now who claim that they now need twice the amount of rounds to drop a player, or need an entire magazine to drop a player. Before we are going to have a look at my test results, what did DICE even do here? Well, all automatic weapons that did a maximum damage of 25 or more got their maximum damage reduced by 1. In addition to that change, the Scar H, the Bulldog and the Ace 52 also got their minimum damage reduced by 1. So the damage changes will require you to hit one more bullet under certain circumstances. But only one more. There is no scenario where you would need 2 more compared to Battlefield 4 right now on public. So what and how did I test? I'm using an L85A2, attached an ACOG, heavy barrel and a bipod. The player I'm going to shoot at is using the Recon class with the offensive field upgrade. If I would use the defensive field upgrade, then this would affect the results of my tests. What we tested now is how many rounds I need to drop the other player. I tested this by shooting at his leg, shooting at his chest and shooting at his head. We have done all these tests on Battlefield 4 public right now and in the CTE. At a distance of 1 meter, 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters and 50 meters. The Recon used the PLD to be able to determine the exact distance to my player. So how big is the difference between Battlefield 4 on public right now and the changes in the CTE? Do I now really need an entire magazine to drop the other player as some players claim? So the first test was at very close range, where I nearly had the gun at the head of the other player. On a public Battlefield 4 server, I then needed to put 5 rounds in his leg to drop him, or 4 to his chest, or 2 to his head. Repeating the same test on the Battlefield 4 CTE server, I needed also 5 rounds to his leg, or 5 rounds to his chest, or 3 rounds to his head. So at very close range you can now see that additional round I talked before, which is now required to kill the other player. And when I'm now going to reveal the remaining test results, you will see that the main difference of this change is limited to a distance of less than 10 meters to the player you are firing at. So by this change the time to kill was increased, but only at very close distances. The greater the distance between you and the player you are firing at is, the less noticeable that change is, up to the point where you don't really notice any difference at all. So if you are playing on a map or a game mode which is mainly about close quarters combat, then you might want to use a weapon which has a high rate of fire. If you play a large and open map, then you might want to use a weapon which has a low rate of fire and a high accuracy. An other side effect of this change is that the defensive field upgrade is now less effective. Some people say that this field upgrade is now completely useless. While I do agree that it is not as useful as it should be, I also think that it was a bit too effective before that change. So DICE still has to do a little bit of fine-tuning here for this field upgrade. So is this change good, or does it ruin the game like some people claim and make it a complete noob shooter? Well, for close quarters combat it does require some time to get used to it. The problem I had was that I stopped shooting too early. Means that I got used to the amount of bullets I need to put in another player to drop him. And now I need one additional round. So you need to adapt a bit to get a new feel for how long you need to fire at another player in order to drop him. That this change mainly affects close quarters combat also shows you why it has been done. Because of all the netcode fixes and the introduction of the high frequency network update option, we did start to die much faster in close quarter combat battles. Faster than DICE wants us to die. So this change is meant to compensate for the effects the netcode changes, the netcode fixes have. So in my opinion, this change does not break the game, it does not make it a noob shooter. I think what is happening right now in the forums is that there are a few people who did not adapt to the change yet, or they simply don't like the change, or they didn't even spend enough time to figure out how it is working. And other players simply believe what they read and jump to conclusions instead of trying it out for themselves and give it a shot. So if you read about that change and were worried that you now really need twice the amount of rounds to drop a player, then I hope that I could give you a better picture of what these changes really do. If you want to reach me, you can do so on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, or by email. The links are in the description. If you like my content, then please consider to hit the subscribe button and I might see you next time. Until then, have a nice day and take care. My name is Chris and this was Battle Nonsense.